Hello and welcome back. If you just tuned in, you are watching Good Morning Sri Lanka on MTV Sports with me, Vasam Ismail, and of course, as I told you, we've got some interesting guests who we are going to speak to, and it's all about the Colombo Model United Nations, which you may or may have not heard of, but this is why they are here, because we are going to discuss it. So I'm just going to introduce you to Sachin Parathalingam and Yanika Amarasekara. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's a Poya. Any plans? I'm sure it's a holiday for you guys.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not in school, so I'm in my gap year, so I actually can sleep till late anyway.
And how about you?
I'm in school, so this is my only day to sleep.
Okay, can we start off by telling our viewers which school you guys are from and a little bit about yourselves?
Well, I was in Stafford International School last year, and I'm in my gap year now, and I'm starting university at Cambridge in October this year. So basically, I mean, I joined Model UN last year, and I was in the executive committee, and I do a lot of debating and basically things around the areas of public speaking, and so I just thought I'll probably continue it in my gap year, since it's one of my gap year activities basically. Yeah.
So my name is Yanika. I've been at OSC, and I've been doing COMUN for around 4 years. This is my 4th year, and my interests are slightly different. I'm into fashion. I had a clothing line a couple years ago, and this coming August I go to university.
Okay, thank you. So shall we just start off by trying to figure out what COMUN is really all about?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, COMUN is a simulation from the actual UN, and it's basically a debating forum and a conference where students roughly aged 13 to around 19, they all gather at OSC, and it's a 3-day conference, so we have around 450 students from all around Sri Lanka, so Colombo, Jaffna, Kandy, Panadaran. This year we're getting international students from Cambodia and Pakistan, and every year there's a different theme. So the theme this year is conflict and crisis. So basically we have different topics, the students debate on different issues, they represent different countries, they come up with resolutions, and it's really a simulation.
So Sachin, of course, now I did remember you mentioning me a little while ago that it is the 19th annual COMUN, so this has been happening for the last 19 years. How did it all originate?
Well, actually, that's a good question. It started off, COMUN is held every year by OSC, the Overseas School in Colombo, and that is basically the main partner of COMUN, and it originated in COMUN, in OSC, with just about 3 or 4 participating schools, and then slowly but surely COMUN expanded, and then it started reaching out to more schools, gathering more students, and basically outsourcing the conference to outside OSC, and getting not only international schools but a variety of local schools involved, and it expanded slowly. It started off with just a few committees, it then had 5, and this year, for the first time in 19 years, we have 2 additional committees, one the Human Rights Commission, another the International Court of Justice. And the Human Rights Commission is very interesting for us as Sri Lankans, because after all, a resolution was passed against us, our country rather, in the Human Rights Commission last year, and is set to be adopted again in this March. So that's probably the reason why we incorporated another committee, and with more than 600 students this year involved, it's really become a very big part of school life and a very big extracurricular
So 600 schools,
activity.
600 schools? Students?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Students?
Yes.
Alright. So, how do you guys decide, for example, I'm sure these students come in and there must be particular countries assigned to them.
Yes.
So how is the decision made?
Well, it's mainly done by the executive committee. So the executive committee consists of around 28 to 30 students, and Sachin and I head it, and basically we organize the conference from beginning to end, and one factor of organizing the conference is assigning the different countries. So there's this kind of complicated process which we go through, where we figure out how many kids we have, how many schools, and then the countries available for each committee, and then we just assign it and distribute the...
I see.
We try to be as even as possible throughout the schools, and give them all.
So also, I'm sure now, since it is a model United Nations and stuff, and especially when these kids are assigned to different countries and stuff, of course, when you walk in, of course, a kid would be really passionate about the whole thing, and when there are topics and stuff put up on the board, you tend to have your own personal opinions about the whole matter as well. But I suppose in this case, it's all about them leaving their personal opinions aside and trying to portray the country's
stance, definitely.
While being diplomatic about it.
While being diplomatic about it. So where do these kids get their research and stuff from on those countries? I'm sure there are countries where it's not very easy to find demographics and to really understand the political scenarios of what's going on in those areas.
I think to follow up on that, I think what we try to do is try to make the topics as inclusive as possible and as comprehensive as possible, so that almost all countries will have something to say on the matter. But when it comes to research, basically that's one of the skills delegates definitely develop, which is research skills, and at a rather amateur level. I mean, obviously the internet is a major source of information. Libraries, there are parents, people they know, their teachers at school, and they basically try to get as detailed a picture as possible about how their country is reacting to the issue and really adopt that. And I mean, leaving their personal opinions aside is probably the most difficult part of being a diplomat and being a delegate at the MUN, because to win any award you need to just try and represent your government as far as possible and as effectively as possible.
I see. So on the same topic, Sachin, so when you do assign countries, like I said, certain countries are easy to research on, certain countries are not. So is there a particular way where you can ensure fairness in terms of the countries that are assigned to the kids?
Well, what we try to do as far as possible is to make sure, one, that countries are not localized to certain schools from a certain type of background. So the countries are distributed in a very random way, and after that we assess them to make sure that, for example, the United States, the countries delegates representing the United States don't come from one school, for example, let's say Royal, and it's evenly distributed like that, so that we try to ensure as far as possible that it's as fair and uniform. But to an extent, there's not much we can do when the relevant country concerned is not really actively involved in the issue we're discussing. So we try to be as comprehensive as possible, but that's probably one of the limitations.
So is Sri Lanka one of the countries where kids are assigned to?
Most definitely.
It is.
But Sri Lanka
I'm sure it's very interesting. Also, is there any involvement when it comes to with the UN when you are conducting this program?
No, we haven't. We try to keep it amongst the students, and most of the students that do take part, that 13, 14, 15, and you get a few students who are around our age, that's 17 and 18. So the resolutions are great, but they're just learning how to form a resolution, they're gaining confidence in speaking. So we really try to keep it within COMUN and just develop their skills throughout conference.
Also, I remember you guys telling me every year there is a theme for COMUN, and this year we have a theme as well, which is
Conflict and Crisis.
Conflict and Crisis. How did you arrive into this theme, and why did you choose this theme for this year?
Well, last year the theme was natural disasters. The year before it was human trafficking. So there have been a lot of the major themes have been done, and conflict and crisis is so significant in 2013, and there are so many issues going on with the security issues, economic, so it just seems so.
There's a lot of things going on, and of course these days we see the US blaming China about their hacking, and North Korea is doing all sorts of nuclear tests.
We actually had North Korea is one of our main topics this year, and there are nuclear tests as well,
so I guess there'll be a lot of focus on the kids who are representing North Korea this year. Also, can you tell us, for example, what are the kind of awards that kids can get out of this?
Well, basically the top award in each of the 7 councils is Best Delegate, and that is basically the most overall delegate and the delegate that has been best able to be a diplomat, as it were. And in addition to that, each delegate has to write a foreign policy statement, which is basically a summary of what that delegate's stance is on the topic at hand, or rather the government of that country's stances on the topic. And so you have best foreign policy statement, and then we basically have runner-up to best delegate, honorary mentions, and then on a wider perspective, the best school of the year based on performance, runner-up to best school, and so on and so forth.
So any special benefits that the participants are given for winning these awards?
Well, if you win that award and you come back to participate the following year, you get this reputation, and the other delegates tend to be a bit more respectful of you. And also it does really help on your CV, so if you're applying to university, it really does make a difference. I guess if you could say, yeah, I want best delegate.
I see. So the event is happening from the 1st to the 3rd of March.
Yes.
Where is it taking place?
The first 2 days at the overseas school, as always, and the final day is at the Cinnamon Grand.
Okay. So why are you guys having it at the Cinnamon Grand on the last day?
Well, I think it's
been a tradition.
It's been a tradition.
Okay. Is there any so what is the sequence of activities rather that happens during the 3 days?
Well, basically each committee has 2 different topics, and each committee basically has to adopt each of those topics and pass a resolution based on that topic. So you would have probably the first topic on the first day and a resolution on that, and the second topic on the second day and a resolution on that. And on the third day, it's basically what we call an emergency session, and taking the delegates into a completely unknown topic, which they've probably not researched about, to test their ability to react in that situation. And there will be a lot of committee activities, and delegates from one committee merging with another and trying to deal with their mandate and their issues and try to basically find compromise, and that is basically how it works.
So once all these suggestions do come in from all the students and the participants, is there anything you all do as a committee to, I don't know, bring it forward to the UN, or any way where the youth's ideas are collated and sent out for viewing?
Well, actually, I mean, last year what they did, which was quite effective, I suppose, I mean, it didn't have any major impact, but they did it as a stance where they actually sent out all the resolutions that were passed to temple trees, and they sent it out. So I think we want to follow up on that. I mean, it's a very simple job, so we will probably send our resolutions, and that is something we do. But apart from that, in terms of involvement, it's really a community service department, really, and we do a lot on that end. And
this year we've been collecting books from all the schools, and we're sending them up to the libraries in Jaffna. So we just, I don't know, as a part of the executive committee, what we really try to do is involve as many people as possible and just help each person kind of develop in their own way, whether it's gaining confidence through public speaking, or giving the opportunity for students to network with other students. So it's really a very holistic.
Also, I'm sure now discussing this with you guys, I can imagine that it's a huge process organizing this event, and I'm sure there is a huge cost involved with it. And I'm sure you as an organizing committee, you've gone out there, you found your sponsors and stuff. But in terms of participants level, do you guys charge them an entrance fee, or how is that dealt with?
Well, basically the main source of finance is the delegate fees. So the delegates have to pay their set registration fees, and that's basically how we fund it, in addition to the sponsors, because as you said, there is a massive cost involved in funding 3 days of conference, 3 days of food, 3 days of stationery, so much sound. There are just so many costs involved that we have to charge delegates at least some kind of fee to kind of recoup that.